Now that we understand how the report ties into athletics, let's dive deeper into the numbers and find out what they mean. Carolina Week reporter Jordan Nash joins us now live in studio. Jordan, let's go ahead and get started.
Well, Lewis, from 1993 to 2011, an 18-year period, UNC offered two main types of irregular classes. Independent studies, where the only assignment was to turn in a paper at the end of the class, and lecture paper classes, where students were supposed to meet for class and then write a paper, but never actually had to go to class. Wainstein said in his report that it's impossible to know how many independent studies enrollments there were because those records were incomplete. We looked at the numbers for lecture paper classes. Like Elizabeth said, 47.4% of the enrollments were from student athletes, a total of 1,852 student athlete enrollments. And again, that number doesn't include the first type of bogus classes. Of these student athlete enrollments, more than half were football players, 18.3% basketball players, and 30.6% were athletes from other sports. Let's start by looking at football. 944 enrollments from football players in the bogus lecture paper classes. While these irregular classes were offered, the UNC football team went to 12 bowl games and won 6. Counselors steered athletes to these classes so they could remain eligible to play.
Now, Jordan, what about the other revenue sport, men's basketball?
There were 226 enrollments from men's basketball players in the paper classes. During the 18-year period, the men's basketball team won 3 NCAA championships in 1993, in 2005, and in 2009. During the 2005 championship season, 10 of the 15 players were AFAM majors.
Wow, that's a large number of the team. What about the other sports?
The bogus classes seem to have hit most sports at UNC. In women's basketball, 114 enrollments in the classes. In other sports, 568. According to a report, the athletes in other Olympic sports didn't take the classes to keep their eligibility. They took them simply to reduce the workload.
All right, Jordan, now the big question is, how did these classes affect student grades?
Well, Lewis, for 329 students, both athletes and non-athletes who took paper classes, the inflated grades they received pushed their GPA above the magic 2.0. This means the classes ensured that the athletes would remain academically eligible and that non-athletes would not go on academic probation. And for 81 of those students, the boost the paper classes gave them was the difference between graduating or not.
Wow, that's a very tough pill to swallow there. Now the question that's on everyone's mind is, what comes next for UNC Athletics program? I know Athletics Director Bubba Cunningham said earlier that UNC has been working with the NCAA since June, cooperating with a new investigation, but what will that investigation yield? Jordan, what specific NCAA rules has UNC broken?
Well, Lewis, the head of the Drake Group that defends academic integrity in colleges says this is by far the biggest academic scandal in NCAA history. It's not so much as if UNC will be punished, but when and to what extent. The NCAA's violation structure has 4 levels. It's looking like UNC will fall under level 1, the main issues being academic fraud and individual unethical conduct. If the NCAA rules that Carolina had a lack of institutional control instead of just failing to monitor the system, things could go from bad to worse. As for the actual punishment, it's honestly up in the air. Maybe the NCAA uses Carolina as an example and throws the book at the heels. Maybe it goes easy on UNC for being so cooperative. Lewis, it really could take quite a while before we know exactly what the NCAA will do.
Well, until then, Jordan, everyone in Carolina Blue will be nervously waiting. Carolina reporter Jordan Nash live in studio. Thanks, Jordan.